Hey nerds, welcome back to another episode of Nerdium, the podcast where we take a look at all the weekly world issues and run screaming the other way. Before we get into this week's episode, we have a big announcement. We'll be giving away a kick-ass Captain Marvel Funko in our latest contest. All you have to do is rate and review the show on iTunes, take a picture of the review, and tweet it at us. Want an extra entry? Then pop over to patreon.com/nerdium and hit up the platinum tier. Contest valid only in North America and closes on March 4th. We'll be announcing the winner March 8th. And now onto the show. This episode we had an awesome guest. Erik Stolhanske of Broken Lizard joined us via the interwebs. You know him from his role in Super Troopers, Beer Fest, and many other awesome movies. We chatted about some of the challenges of making independent films, the forming of Broken Lizard, and his public speaking on a topic near and dear to his heart. So Carrie, cut out all the shenanigans and hit the music right meow. Alright, so today we're joined by Erik Stolhanske, actor, writer, producer, member of Broken Lizard. Also big into the stand-up comedy and public speaking.
And just a BMF on the side.
BMF? What are you calling me?
Bad motherfucker.
Ah, okay. I thought it was a bowel movement fool.
No. I would like to think that this stage in your life you're a professional at that.
Oh, much better. Much better. What's up, guys?
Not a whole lot. How are you doing?
What's going on up in the Great White North?
Probably about the same as the Midwest down there.
Yeah, I'm in Minnesota right now, and I feel like it's a lot like Canada. We're basically the same.
Yeah.
Same country.
We're living through a lot of freezing rain and all sorts of pleasantries up here right now.
Yeah, it's wild. A couple of days ago, it was 51 below zero wind chill. I don't know if you guys can translate that.
Yeah, friggin' cold is pretty much what we would just call it up here.
Yeah. I'm not very good at Celsius. 51 below zero wind chill Fahrenheit. And then yesterday it was 40 degrees Fahrenheit above and raining, and it rained last night.
Yeah, we got a weird warm front coming in right now, so we're getting a little taste of everything all at once.
Yeah, so
did you guys get that extreme bitter cold that they had in the Midwest? And
then we got that. I think it was last week. We were working out and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
It's funny. Only people like us talk about weather, right? Like people in California, Florida, and Mexico. We aren't talking about the weather.
Yeah, I saw your video on Twitter there of tossing the boiling water at the window.
Yeah, I bet you guys have done that a lot, right?
I've done it a few times.
Well, yeah, of course, well, for science purposes.
Hey, does that work with coffee?
Oh, I've never tried that.
That would just be a horrible waste of coffee if I'm being honest with it.
What if you came out of like a gas station and you like had the worst coffee and you're like, I'm just going to throw it in the air? Because sometimes, you go to a gas station and it's been sitting there for 12 hours.
Or you mean the coffee that you have to like eat with a fork and knife?
And yeah, exactly. But if it's hot enough on one of those nights, you could at least test it. So when you're out protecting us on the roads, when I think about us on this conversation, try it.
Yeah,
we'll record it and send it to you and let you know what happens.
I like it.
All right, so you've done some big movies like Super Troopers 1 and 2, Beer Fest, Club Red, Slam & Salmon. What is one of your favorite ones out of those?
Well, since, we're talking U.S. Canada right now, I have to say Super Troopers 2. Mm-hmm. Can I ask you guys, have you guys seen Super Troopers 2?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Should we talk about it a little bit?
Sure.
So I came up to Ottawa and did stand-up about 3-4 weeks before the movie came out because I wanted to publicize the movie, but I also knew that there were Canadian themes in the movie. So I traveled around Ontario for a little bit, trying to kind of butter up the Canadians a little bit to say, hey, we're not such bad guys. We're not such bad guys. We can be friends. But it was kind of a fun back and forth. And I think the U.S. gives as much as they get in the movie, but I want to talk to you guys about it. As Canadians, did you feel like they're stupid accents, right? But we tried to cast real Canadians in the movie, even though they were silly accents. But I'm sure if you watched Austin Powers, you would say that's a pretty silly accent.
I think one of the most endearing, more charming parts of Canadians is our accent, which I don't personally hear, but apparently I throw out far more aboots and A's than I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, being from Minnesota, it's funny because when the Coen Brothers came out with Fargo, everybody in Minnesota was incensed that we were treated like idiots. And like, I don't feel like when I speak that I have the Fargo accent. When you're listening to me, maybe you think that I totally do.
No, don't hear it.
I don't hear it.
And so people here were like, we don't speak like that. But I guess you have to kind of take it with just a little sense of humor and say, well, it's just a comedy.
I think so, but I don't think too many people up here really worry too much about our accent. I mean, the most notable ones is in the far east coast out by Newfoundland and a few other places. But we live up near the Ottawa Valley where, good morning is good day and certain letters are held on too far longer than they need to be. But I don't think anybody really gets too upset about it. I think we just kind of take it with a grain of salt, and if anything, we kind of encourage the teasing and the fun to begin with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of over-examined, perhaps.
I mean, I'm asked far more whether or not I have an addiction to maple syrup than I ever do about my accent. So kind of balance it out.
I mean, I guess in the U.S. we have such diverse accents. Like a southern accent is so different than a northern accent, or like a Boston accent is so different than someone from California.
Oh, very true, very true. So with Super Troopers 2, we noticed we know that you guys did a little bit of crowdfunding for that one.
Yeah. Any
other sort of like crazy challenges that popped up in getting that one going, or anything along those lines?
Well, that one was pretty intense. We wrote. I feel like maybe if we had done the sequel right after the first one, we might have had a little more luck with the studio. But we're always big fans of comedy groups like Monty Python or Kids in the Hall, and we wanted to try to do something different right afterwards. We just didn't want to do a sequel right after Super Troopers 2 because we wanted to try different characters, different plot lines. And so we made Club Dread, Beer Fest, Slammed Salmon, and then a lot of people would ask us, hey, where's the sequel to Super Troopers 2? And so we knew that there was an audience out there. And so we went back to 20th Century Fox and we said that we would be interested. But a lot of time had passed, and so they didn't know if the audience was still there. And so they said, well, if you raise the money, we'll put it in theaters. But they weren't going to finance it. So we had to turn to crowdfunding. But it's an arduous process. I mean, we shot over the course, it took us 3 years. 2015, we shot in 2015, 2016, and then a week in 2017. And so it definitely drew out the process for a long time. And we can go into more detail if you're interested, but it was, it really, normally a studio would just say, here's the budget, and you just go shoot, and you can get everything just expedited really quickly. But having to do a crowdfunding campaign, you got to set up the campaign, you have to fill a campaign, and then you have to, tour and do all the screenings and everything. And it was a good experience. It was really interesting. Just drew it out a little bit longer than we normally would do when we make a movie.
Yeah, you guys had one of the more successful crowdfunding campaigns when it comes to making a movie. So that was pretty impressive.
We were surprised and humbled. It was, we felt very grateful.
Well, I think it also make people feel a lot better about it, knowing that they're showing you the support they have, the hunger they have for the content. And I think the people that got involved for the crowdfunding, it gives them something to say, hey, I was a part of helping these guys make that.
It's really cool. I mean, even afterwards, like people said, hey, what about Weed Fest or Pot Fest, the sequel to Beer Fest? And our response was, I was like, well, we would never want to have anyone help contribute to make us make the movie again. But people would say, no, that was part of the fun of it. Mm-hmm. We want to help you guys make movies. And we feel guilty that to do it. I don't know. We're sort of torn on it. It's interesting.
Well, it's kind of interesting for the fans that they kind of want to be a part of the whole process. So
yeah, it's kind of cool. Mystery Science Theater did a crowdfunding campaign after us. And it was also interesting to watch and very cool to see how rabid their fans were. I think they maybe even raised more money than we did. But it's really cool to see a product when somebody has really rabid fans that really want to help get something made.
It also, like you said, like with people wanting to see stuff getting made, it puts stuff out in the market that people clearly want to see. And instead of these weird little boardrooms of, hey, what do you guys like? It's really people coming out and saying, hey, we want this, and we want to help make sure that you guys get to do it.
Yeah, it's really cool. So how about in Canada? Like, we were heavily influenced by Kids in the Hall. Do you think Canada would ever support a crowdfunding campaign for a Kids in the Hall movie?
I think that there's a huge group of us that were born in the 90s or 80s and 90s that were raised with that group.
Yeah.
And I think that if they came out and said, hey, we're thinking of doing this, do you guys want to back us? I think there would be more than enough people supporting it.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. So for Broken Lizard, like, how did the group form?
Well, we all went to a university together, upstate New York, Colgate University, a small school, and a couple of us dabbled in theater a little bit here and there. I don't think any of us knew what we wanted to do with our lives, but Jay was asked to direct a play one semester when there's like a student theater group. And one of the guys had gone away to London to study for the semester, and he wanted to keep the group going. So he asked Jay if he would direct a play. And Jay said, well, I don't know if I'm necessarily interested in directing a play. How would you feel if I started a comedy group? Because he was from Chicago and he had done some improv in Chicago. And the guy said, sure. So Jay put together a group of friends. And at the time it was, 11 or 12 or 13. It was a lot of people. But it got dwindled down over the years it was called Charred Goosebeak back in school. And it got whittled down to the 5 of us that became Broken Lizard.
What were you guys in school for?
And let's see. I was an English major. I think Kevin and I were English majors. Jay, I believe, was maybe history. Steve was art. So all different things. We didn't think we were going to do this professionally. Afterwards, we had a lot of fun doing school, and I had actually moved back home, and I got a call from Jay saying, hey, would you want to come back to New York and try to do this for fun? And I was sort of just postponing life because I didn't have a job, and Soder didn't have a job. So I moved out to New York with $200, and I slept on Jay's floor. He had a feather bed, and he would just take the feather bed off the mattress and throw it on the ground at night, and I would sleep on the feather bed. And we all got weird, odd jobs, and we would do these odd jobs during the day, and then on weekends we'd do comedy in New York, and we kept it going for about 5 years doing sketch comedy in New York City before the independent film movement started happening with Sundance. Probably Toronto International Film Festival as well as this interesting scene that was popping up, and we saw these guys doing these movies for a reasonable cost, and so we gave it a go with a movie that we made for $100,000 called Puddle Cruiser. It was before Super Troopers, a really low budget film where we learned just where to put a camera and how to make movies, but it turned out to be a good little project. I like it. I still enjoy it.
Yeah, film festivals are pretty good. They get a lot of kind of unknown people kind of into the public eye. Like it's kind of how we got our like Kevin Smiths with Clerks and all that too. So
Tarantino, Soderbergh, Linkletter. I mean, yeah, great stuff. Really, Spike Lee.
Well, plus the independent guys are also allowed to do a little bit more in the way of experimentation, put out something that's a little different than what would commonly be deemed like mainstream and what would generally be accepted. And all of a sudden, you're able to show studios that there's a flavor for something different out there, that maybe people do want to see something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. The studio that bought Super Troopers is Fox Searchlight, and they did Napoleon Dynamite and Little Miss Sunshine, so kind of these quirky little films that might not have gotten to theaters otherwise, which is great that audiences back and show support for.
Absolutely, and I know.
What do you guys into more? Do you guys like more sort of bigger budget films, or do you like more small, quirky?
We're pretty much all over the board. Like,
yeah,
we like going to watch the big blockbusters in movie theaters, but at the same time, I enjoy sitting down and watching some of the original stuff on IFC, or even some of the not so much of the Netflix originals as much because
I know myself. I like to sit down to like your typical popcorn fare and the big budget stuff, but I find the enjoyment I derive from finding something new and strange and quirky is far more enjoyable because it's a surprise. When I go to a theater and I'm going to watch a big blockbuster summer movie hit, I kind of know what I'm sitting down to. I kind of know what to expect, even though I haven't seen the movie. I'm kind of, there's a certain formula they almost all follow. Whereas the more independent stuff, the surprise you get from seeing something strange or something new is a little bit more, I want to say, maybe rewarding than walking into your typical formulaic blockbuster.
Yeah, I find like the big blockbusters are less likely to kind of challenge the way you think or anything like that.
Yeah, I know they get a little bit hairy, but do you guys ever go down like the Toronto Film Festival? Is that just too crowded?
I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet, but something on the bucket list.
Yeah, I've been to TIFF once when TIFF first started, and then that was about it. I've never been able to get back since.
Yeah, they get a bit insane.
It is a unique experience, to say the least.
It's a fun city, Toronto.
Yeah.
Are you guys both from Ottawa?
Nope.
I'm from Toronto.
And I'm from a small town just outside of Toronto, so.
Which one? Hamilton?
No. Yeah, that's not so much a small town. I'm talking real small.
Real small.
Yeah.
Let me guess. I'll never guess.
No. A little town called Owen Sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
We forsook our big city life and then ended up back in a small town again.
Yeah, just outside of Ottawa.
So tell us a little bit, when we were doing a little bit of research there, I found out about your public speaking. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a little side gig. You know, I travel around sometimes telling stories, broken loser stories, and doing sort of a stand-up thing. But another thing I do is I have a career in public speaking, which is based on, I was in high school, and there's a woman came to my high school, and we would have all-school assemblies every once in a while. And there's a woman came and spoke, and she was this model from New York, and it was Cancer Awareness Day. And she's up on stage giving a talk, and in the middle of it, she reveals that she had a prosthetic leg, and everyone in the audience, their minds were kind of blown because you couldn't tell. She was still having a successful career in modeling, and she lost her leg to cancer, but didn't let her stop her, and she still persevered and had a very fulfilling life. And that was meaningful to me because I was born without a fibula, and since I was 18 months old, have been raised with a prosthetic leg. And I thought it was meaningful to me, and that had an impact on me at that moment. So I thought, well, maybe one day in my life, if I can have a career where I've established myself, I will go back and try to give back a little bit. And so I currently travel around and I try to tell my story of growing up, losing my leg when I was 18 months old, or having my foot amputated when I was 18 months old, raised on a prosthetic, having a wooden leg, kind of funny stories of the technology back when I was growing up. My leg was actually made of wood. So I tell stories, jokes about getting splinters or using it for firewood when it got cold, and then going on and still having adversity you have to face when you make an independent film. But the idea that if you get into this habit of overcoming adversity as a child, you can overcome adversity when you're an adult, that it kind of becomes a habit and it builds your character.
Mm-hmm. Well, awesome.
So that's the public speech I give when I travel around for universities or corporations.
To say the least, I suppose.
Yeah, it's been an interesting life. So yeah, I like to try to tie the fact that maybe the diversity and challenges I had as a kid helped me adapt to more challenges when we got older. Because making independent film is hard in the sense that you're always trying to get financing and just a lot of obstacles to ever try to get it. Even getting into a film festival, like I can't remember what the numbers are, especially now with digital filmmaking, but the odds of getting into a film festival are astronomical, and then maybe one or two ever get bought at a film festival to actually have your movie placed in the theater. So the odds are always stacked against you. But it's hopefully I call it foolish perseverance. Sometimes you have to be a little irrational, a little delusional to believe in yourself that you can succeed.
Mm-hmm. What were some of the things you kind of experienced? Like you mentioned the kind of how the movies kind of had that digital shift. Like the first Super Troopers kind of came out when everybody was buying DVDs, and you kind of deal with that. And now everything is all digital. So what were some challenges you saw there?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was one of the challenges of actually getting Super Troopers 2 made, because when first Super Troopers came out, we had a very robust DVD life. It was that era where everybody went out and bought a DVD, and Blockbusters and video stores were everywhere. And then those kind of went away and everything became digitized. And then studios are saying, well, how in the world do we monetize any of this? And we're not huge names, right? So when we put a movie in a theater, it's not like you're selling a big movie star, Leo DiCaprio or Ryan Reynolds or something like that. Broken Lizard is kind of a cult following. And so I think Fox was also nervous that we may have a modest box office success, but traditionally we had a DVD life. But now that that's gone, well, now what? And so we were nervous about that when the movie came out last year, but home video was very surprised that there are still a large group of people out there that buy DVDs. And I didn't know if that was going to be there. We didn't know if that was going to be there. Fox didn't know if that was going to be there, but apparently there still is a large group of people out there that buy DVDs.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a huge influence, I think, on people taking a chance.
There's a lot of kind of people signing on with contracts with Netflix making TV series and movies. Is that something you guys would be looking at it in the future?
Never taken it off the table. I mean, and we know the people at Netflix, and they're great. Currently, we are developing a couple ideas with Fox, and so that's where we are right now. But we would never take any future sort of ideas off the table with Netflix.
Yeah, like we saw that Kevin Heffernan and Steve Lemmy there are working on Tacoma FD. So that's something that you'll ever have an appearance in, or?
Yeah, I don't know. Those guys, it's I guess when bands kind of have their little solo albums, they're doing their solo project right now. But we all do. Jay directs a lot of television. Paul Soder likes horror films. He's directed a couple horror movies. Mm-hmm. I'm working on a TV series that's a lot of fun as well. So we like to dabble and then kind of come together because you have a lot of downtime in between projects. So yeah, we'll see. I know Paul did a little writing on Tacoma FD, and then Kevin and Steve are acting in it and writing it. But it's fun for them. I'm proud of them. So
what about yourself, Eric? Do you have any irons in the fire that you can talk about? Just for yourself personally?
Yeah. So I've been developing a series based on something that I always was fascinated. When I was a child, I'd go up to my cabin, and you probably have it in Canada as well, as your family goes to cabin on the weekends. And my grandma and grandpa would always get dressed up on a Friday and Saturday night and go to a supper club. Does that sound familiar at all to you guys?
Supper clubs, not so much.
Not in my family, not so much, but definitely friends of a different echelon of life may or may not have been gone to a few.
It's not like even super fancy, but they would always get dressed up, and then the kids would stay back at the cabin. And I don't know, if in my imagination, I'm kind of romanticizing what it was like to go to get dressed up and go to a supper club for a Fish Fry Friday, or, it's usually sort of a prime rib and a relish tray, and then kind of a lounge act that was probably there. So I'm trying to recreate what my imagination is a modern day supper club. So it's called a series called Dick Apple's Supper Club.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like a Cheers in a supper club.
Oh, right on.
That's what I'm developing right now.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What will that be out on? Or what are you kind of looking at?
I don't know. I'm still doing the writing. I've shot a bunch of scenes of it, so we have some scenes to shop around. But I'm currently shopping it around, trying to find a home, and doing some writing.
And are you going to be also acting in it?
Yeah, I play Dick Apple.
It's a very interesting name.
Yeah.
that name's going to ring in my brain for the rest of the day today.
It's a lot of fun. It kind of combines comedy and some music as well. Because there's a lounge act that plays at the supper club, but then there's also a plot line and a storyline and comedy involved, and then you also get this sort of live music.
Awesome.
That's fun.
Very cool. So just kind of wrapping up today. So we already kind of talked about kind of what we're looking at for the future. Like, is there anything Broken Lizard has in the works for later on down the pipe, or?
Yeah, I don't know how much I'll have to talk about stuff. I probably should have asked the guys or our agents beforehand how much I'm allowed to discuss. We've talked about stuff in the past, and then all of a sudden you say something and you get yelled at.
All right.
We're developing 2 projects currently, and they're.
I think that's more than enough for us to go off of without trying to hold you down and torment answers out of you.
It might even be out there already.
Besides, we've already hacked into your computer from this end, so I mean, we'll just snoop around and find it ourselves.
That's right. You already have the script. For people who don't know that are listening, we're talking through our computers right now. Right? It's this website Zencastr.com. So the reason that we're joking about this is that I feel like you guys are in my computer right now because I'm looking at my screen and I can see all the wavelength and everything, but I'm speaking through my computer to you.
Well, we definitely appreciate you willing to click on a link that 2 weirdos from Canada sent you. we were really taking bets as to whether or not you were going to click on it.
You guys could be hacking, going right through my files right now, or maybe Russia is.
Yeah, definitely Russia.
Just a board of shadowy figures getting in there and seeing what you're up to.
All right.
It's just terrifying. This technology thing is terrifying sometimes, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I've lost a little bit of hair due to it. Sure.
Yeah. You guys ever been hacked?
Yeah, I lost a couple of credit card numbers a few times.
But yeah, I've had people inside and out of my bank account a number of times.
Oh, terrifying.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with us today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And if anybody hasn't seen Super Troopers 2, hopefully they'll go check it out.
Yeah, and we definitely look forward to seeing you play Dick Apple.
Thanks, guys.
That name. Thanks a lot, Eric.
All right. Yeah, take care.
All right, thanks. Have a great day.
You too.
That'll do it for today's episode. As always, we want to thank you guys for spending just a little bit of your day with us. Matt and I always appreciate it. If you'd like to support our show, you can at patreon.com/nerdium. If you can't but want to help, feel free to give us a 5-star review wherever you enjoy listening. It'll help promote the show and show us you enjoy what we're doing. If you have any show ideas, comments, suggestions, or just want to say hi, you can email us at nerdiumpodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on all the other social medias, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just search Nerdium Podcast. On behalf of Matt and I, thanks again for listening, thanks for your support, and always, make sure you stay nerdy.